already ate before I came in.
Oh, okay. It ended around 12:20 in the morning. He didn't get his food until 11:30, sometime after 11:30 at night. So it had been a long day. So yeah,
You can stand here.
My phone died.
and this a young 16-year-old. And that's really what it was all about. I mean, it started out, talking to spirit, dealing with the house portions of the place, but after a while it got down to business, and I think we all understand now that he was basically afraid. When he was pointing in his face, stuck his head. He had no intention of hurting anyone. He was not with the rest of the group. He wasn't with the other three gentlemen. In fact, he did not want to be a part of that. He was just a long way from home. And too far to walk, too far to not enough money to catch a cab. And 16-year-olds process things differently. He didn't know how to get himself out of this situation. We as adults, we can kind of figure things out, but a 16-year-old, he doesn't know how to remove himself from that situation. He was like a captive audience. He couldn't leave until everybody was ready to go. So it's just a tragic case all the way around. It's just completely tragic.
Mr. Gordon, what concerns do you have that the jury will hold it against Mr. Harris for initially not saying he was in the treatment of documentation?
Well, you can't judge Mr. Harris from the lens of an adult. 16-year-olds, as I said earlier, they process things differently. What 16-year-old won't try to be deceptive when they think they're in trouble? But this young man didn't even realize that throughout that interview, I don't think he was ever told that Officer Caprio had expired. So, even the officer, with his patience with him, because he understands when you're interviewing teenagers, the story can meander, it can go many different places, and it just takes a while. It's a process to build that rapport, that relationship, in order for the teenager to open up to him. And he eventually did, and I believe that the truth came out. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Gordon.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Good morning. Good afternoon.
I missed most of that.
Okay. Well, the question he asked is, what took him so long to tell? Just get yourself ready. Don't even worry about this. Tell me what you're
Let's just hold here, or if you want, you can go back out here. Just wait a couple of minutes to see if you got it. Probably. Okay, I'm all set.
Okay. The question was, what took Mr. Harris? Okay. The question was, what took Mr. Harris so long to get around to telling the truth? And I was saying that you cannot judge the 16-year-old through the lens of an adult. He's a 16-year-old child, and they process things differently. They don't process things the way we responsible adults do. And so it takes a little while for them to build a rapport, for a rapport to be built with them. They don't, any teenager may not, who took the cookies out of the cookie dish, wasn't me, you know what I mean? That's the process that you go through. And the detective was very sensitive to that. He knew that it would take a process for him to build the appropriate rapport with Mr. Harris. He knew that he was going to have to go through some of these meandering stories or stories that didn't make sense to finally get to the truth. Unfortunately, he sat with him from 3:30 until 12:20 at night, and he didn't feed him until sometime after 11:30. But the bottom line is, after the rapport was built, I think we got somewhere to the truth. And the truth is that he was very afraid. He was afraid for his life. That as a result of him being afraid, he ducked his head and closed his eyes and basically prayed for the best. He had no intention whatsoever of hurting anybody, and I don't even believe that he even knew that he struck Officer Caprio. They didn't tell him throughout that entire interview that Officer Caprio expired. He wasn't even altogether sure as to whether or not she was hit. And so you have all these things going through his head at the same time, and then you're not telling him the ultimate fact that someone actually expired on that day. And he's thinking he's there for one thing, and he's really there for something else. The bottom line is, it was a process. I thought the detective was very good in developing a rapport with him. He didn't chastise him. He didn't castigate him for or incidences when the story kind of went left when it should have been going right. And he was just very patient with me, patient and methodical. And he did get the truth from Dante Harris that this was an accident, a tragic accident.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. Now, I like a question for you. I got a question. Now, what about, did he, when he first was interrogated, was it legal to interrogate a person without saying you could remain silent? Did they also say, can you remain silent? Would you like for your attorney to be present? Did they ask him no questions?
Well, they went through an advice of rights form with Dante Harris.
Mm-hmm.
However, the speed with which he went through that form, I don't really think Dante understood what he was agreeing to do. And even when he turned over his cell phone, I mean, the way they kind of did it, they didn't do it in a manner that would allow him to really comprehend what was going on. So I did take issue with the voluntariness of the statement, and that is whether or not his statement was actually voluntary. But the bottom line is, he gave a statement. The statement is consistent with our theory of the case, that he was very afraid, that he didn't intend to hurt or harm anyone, that he ducked, he closed his eyes, and he didn't see Officer Caprio in the front of his vehicle. And the last time he saw Officer Caprio again was when she was to the side of his vehicle. And you got to understand, Officer Caprio is a short woman. She's 5'5". She's barely taller than her police cruiser. So even if he was upright in the vehicle, which he was not, he still probably wouldn't see her too well. I mean, the vehicle came to her chest, like her chest area is where the what do you call it? The front of the vehicle.
Right.
That came to her chest area. So I could understand that him believe he had ducked. Now, when you duck, the car was never placed in park. The car was, you just had his foot on the brake. When you duck, I imagine that your foot would go down. You're trying to hold the wheel. You're depressing the gas. It's not like you're just hightailing it out of there. I mean, I think he just depressed the gas. The car accelerated, and not at a high rate of speed. It just accelerated and it ran her over. Perhaps she lost her footing and ended up getting crushed.
Right. Now, he also said that he wasn't in none of the houses that they trying to pin to him.
Not only was he not in any of the houses, but he wasn't with those gentlemen. Like, he wasn't a part of what they were doing. In fact, he's like, I'm not in there with you. I'm not doing that with you guys. I'm gonna stay here. And that's what he was. That's what he was doing the entire time. So again, everything that we said about this case is being exposed. Is coming to light, and that's we're happy about that.
And right now, it's a session. Is it going to be like the day is going to be over on Monday or Tuesday? How long do you think it's going to play out?
This is the last witness, so I expect that Mr. Brown will have him for the rest of the day, and the state will rest, and then we'll go into motions.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Any questions?
You know what? The thing of it was that was interesting to me, he just met two of those guys 2 days before.
That's true. Not even 2 days, like that day, right? Within the last 24 hours.
Right.
Yeah, so he didn't even know. Those guys were actually friends of Darrell, the person who he's only known since November.
Right.
And the other two guys he'd only known for those couple of days. And those were the ones who were doing all the burglaries. It's always those three. Those three were doing all of these things. Our client, he wasn't with any of those things, and so he remained in the car. He couldn't just get out and walk from Parkville or Perry Hall back to Baltimore. He was like a captive audience. What he thought was a joyride ended up being, all of this burglarizing homes and things, and he made it known that he wasn't with it, and he wasn't going to be involved in it.
But he knew or didn't know what they were doing.
He didn't really, the first time, he knew that they were up to no good. That's all he knew. The first time they went, they took a package off someone's house. I mean, as disturbing as that can be to some, a package is not, removing a package from someone's porch that costs $63.54, it's not a felony.
Right.
That's just a misdemeanor.
Right.
He's charged with felony, felony murder.
Oh.
He's charged with felony murder. So the fact that he found out that they removed the package from those folks' homes is of no moment. And he didn't even partake in that package. You know what I mean? He wasn't a part of any of these things. The other houses, I don't think he really knew what they were doing until until after it was too late. And then he wasn't with them. He just knew that they were up to no good. He said because it was taking them so long, is what he said. But he didn't know that they were banging in the houses, you know. So there you go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, I'll see you
Okay.
soon. Okay. So you're not
There
going
you
to
go,
eat.
folks.
I gotta go upstairs too.